there's no tomorrow. I wanna race to...
Can You See How I See would not be possible without the support of our executive producer, Mr. Tom Rao, whose lifestyle and wisdom inspires us all. Well, everybody, welcome to another episode of Can You See How I See with myself, Keith Famey, and my co-host, George Wurtzel. George, how you doing today?
We're doing really good today. The rain is testing my brand new roof very, very well. We've got over an inch of rain, and it's all stayed on the outside of the building where it belongs.
Yeah, and this is the roof you've been working on for a while. And just for our listening audience, George is a pretty hands-on kind of guy. Not only does he have this amazing carpentry studio and teaches classes and all the carpentry he does, but his roof was failing for months, and he decided that it was time to take the roof off of the building that he bought and put a new roof on because you were tired of getting wet in your bedroom, correct? Wasn't that like
Correct.
part of the issue?
Yes, that was the major issue.
Well, George, today's guest is a very I'm honored to say a very dear friend that goes back to the same period of time when I first met you, when I was working on the film Can You See How I See, and our guest today is Major Iván Castro, who's now retired from the U.S. Army. Special Forces, Green Beret. I mean, he's got a tremendous amount of accolades and accomplishments in his lifetime. And I think, George, you remember that Ivan was blinded while on a roof in Iraq. He was a sniper, and he was blinded during a mission that we're going to actually share with the audience in a second. But before I do that, I have a funny story. A few years ago, and Ivan will talk about this, but he had done this walk with Prince Harry for the Invictus for a group of wounded warriors across the Antarctica. And prior to them leaving to go do this expedition, which is just hard to wrap your head around as it is, they had a meet and greet with the Queen of England, the 5 or 6 individuals, part of the wounded warriors that were doing this with Prince Harry from around the world. And I'm in my bedroom and I'm getting dressed. It's a Sunday morning, and Katrin and I are getting dressed, and I have NBC News on, and I hear Ivan's voice, and I turn and look. Why do I hear Ivan's voice? And there he is. He's talking he's joking with the Queen of England, and I'm like, Kat, there's Ivan right there. He's talking to the Queen of England, and I was just so blown away by this moment. But it's characteristic of his funny personality. But Iván Castro is really an inspirational, tremendous leader of life who's inspired me in so many ways from his accomplishments off the battlefield as a blinded, at one time active duty major and now retired veteran. So before we introduce Ivan, let's share a little bit of his story that I was fortunate to film in one of our films, Can You See How I See? So here's that story.
So in 2006, around July, I was a platoon leader for the Scouts and Sniper platoon. 182 millimeter mortar round came in. The second round landed 5 feet to my left. Instantly, I was knocked unconscious and seriously injured. The blast had broken my nose. It had shattered my right cheekbone. It had nucleated my right eye, flung shrapnel in my left. It left me completely blind. And then 2 other soldiers that sustained severe injuries. Sergeant Ralph Porras, and the second soldier was PFC Justin Drace. The injuries that they sustained were so severe that they couldn't stop the bleeding, so both of those soldiers died. When I hear someone say, oh yeah, I know what you're going through, the first question I ask them, are you blind? My life is total darkness 24/7.
He works so hard and dedicates every day to make it like the days when he had a mission every day. He gets up in the morning and goes to the gym. He'll tell you he loves to every day, but a lot of days it is sheer dedication to get out there to be an example for other people. Beautiful.
Awesome. Good job.
So without further ado, we're honored to introduce Iván Castro. Iván, how are you? And welcome to Can You See How I See?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show, on the podcast, and excited to be here and just wondering what's coming my way.
Yeah, we'll do our best at opening up a dialogue, a conversation.
Sure.
First of all, Iván, George, Iván, George, Iván.
Well,
Pleasure.
we've met before. We've met before. Ivan, the last time I saw Ivan, though, he was running around on the streets of Detroit, some kind of conflagration of people. I don't remember what the exact occasion was, but
Right, we were
it's the
working on a
last.
film called Enlisted that we did that Ivan came to town for. We did a film called Enlisted, and where we helped, as well as the other film, Death Is Not the Answer. Ivan stepped into both of those films, one about mental health and depression and suicide ideation and the complexities of war and the battle scars you carry mentally. And then the other film, which was called Enlisted, that we did was Why Would Anybody Want to Enlist in the Military, where we featured 4 amputee veterans and Ivan. And so yeah, Ivan was in Michigan for a period of time for a couple weeks of filming. So that's when he was here, George.
It was a great time, and for your listeners, with the first, can you see how I see? I was truly amazed of your talent, and all your awards that you received, and your passion, not only for Michigan and everything about Michigan, but also because military, and all the different documentaries that you've done, Keith. So
Yeah, well,
I really also truly have you as a true dear friend in my heart. So it was a
yeah, I've
blessing.
been fortunate to
As
have
mentioned.
traveled around the country with you. I filmed Ivan running the New York City Marathon. I filmed Ivan climbing a mountain in Colorado that we went with a guide who specializes in taking individuals that are visually impaired or blind on these mountain treks. And we were out there filming that in a very cold, early winter day in Colorado to climb this mountain. And if you remember, Ivan, a snowstorm sets in, and myself and my crew, the only ones that couldn't get to the top of the mountain, the only person that got to the top of this mountain we were climbing was Ivan, which is nothing short of impressive. All of us were he never fell. I fell 10 times.
And I think your son came with us too. He made it to the top.
Josh did make it to the top, but I did not. And it was funny, George, the guide that was with us had this bell that he would ring, and he would hold this bell and he'd ring this bell, so Ivan always knew where he was at. But he was joking and goes, Ivan goes, "What's the bell for?" And he says, "Well, there's bears out here." And Ivan goes, "There's bears out here?"
Is there bears up here?
George had a really interesting question that'll really kind of tee up this discussion. I never thought to ever ask this question of you, but George texted it to me, but George should ask this question.
My question to Keith was that because you said you wanted to be prepared, so we were trying to get you prepared. Where do you think you would be if you wouldn't have lost your vision?
Oh, definitely, I'd be still serving in the military. Yeah, it's the only thing I knew how to do. Before I got out, it's my passion. It's what I believed in. It's enjoy it. I like the excitement, the adrenaline that I get out of it. The team, the guys, the fellows. The brotherhood, and doing something around the world, and that probably most people would have never known that we were doing. And not spoken about. I hope I would still be in the military if I wasn't blind. That perhaps I'd be there. Times have changed. I served 28 years in the military, both as an enlisted soldier and as an officer. And in those 28 years, I did see a lot of changes in the military. And I retired in November 2016. And being out of the military, I still see some changes. And so it's very different what you see from the outside and what really happens in the inside. So I don't know. My answer to that question would be right now would be I'd probably be in the military or perhaps retired and I don't know, doing some contract work around the world.
When you
Perhaps
retired,
Ukraine or something like that.
when you retired, what did you retire as? What was your full retirement listing as?
As a major, so I was enlisted, came in as a private first class at E3, made it all the way to E7, which is the sergeant first class, and then I went to officer candidate school. I was the oldest guy there. I think I was about the same age as my battalion commander for the school, for the schoolhouse, and it was tough. Going to officer candidate school, OCS as we call it, it was tough because it was like to go back to kindergarten and go through all this basic.
And you were blind.
No.
Oh, you weren't blind.
No,
Okay,
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
blind. I was sighted, but it was tough because I had been 18 years in the Army. I had been deployed to combat. I was already a drill sergeant. I had a number of specialty schools. I had served up the ranks, from a assault gunner, a 203 gunner, a machine gunner, a team leader, a squad leader, and platoon sergeant, special operations, weapons sergeant, special forces weapons sergeant, a drill sergeant. So then having to go back to officer training school where they teach you all of the basics, it was kind of, oh my God, I have to endure this again. But one of the things about it that I try to do is always make the best of everything, right? And being there, a lot of the young candidates came up for me for guidance and mentorship and to answer a lot of their questions. And it was right after 9/11, and so we were ramping up in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and I knew the importance of these young leaders that were about to become second lieutenants and go to officer basic course and get to their unit and immediately deploy to combat. So for me, being there, uh, being not only a mentor and a coach or someone that could answer their questions, I was also their peer at the same time. So, uh, you know, we were all in this together going through this course. But my main concern was making sure that they received all of the information that they needed, all the proper training, realistic combat training that they needed, both the males and the females, to be successful and go out, accomplish the mission, take care of their troops, and bring everybody back.
When help people, the audience, understand the division you were part of was, is there a difference between Special Forces and Green Beret, or they one and explain that so we understand?
Special Forces is the unit, right? You're in a Special Forces regiment, and it's a regiment that's composed of 5 active groups and 2 National Guard groups. And a group is as big as a brigade, a lot of people, right? Um, Green Beret is the headgear that we wear, and so people will identify us as wearing Green Berets. So we're the only unit that wear Green Berets. So you have to go through an assessment and a selection. It was about 21 days when I went through. Every time it changes, they always try to improve the assessment and selection and the qualification course based on what's going on around the world, and just to make sure that our special forces operators are getting the proper training to accomplish the mission. And then the qualification course varies depending on your military occupation skill, your MOS.
Who doesn't love pickled veggies? Now, thanks to the Great Lakes Pickling Company, you can so easily create a wide variety of pickled vegetables in a week in your fridge with this very cool pickling pouch. Just drop in almost any type of vegetables, and in a week, you have some really great homemade, delicious, crunchy pickled vegetables. Just go to greatlakespickling.com. When that blast took place and you came out of your, I would imagine you were probably in a coma and everything and so on, and you explained that. How did they explain to you that you were going to be blind, and what was that initial thought?
I've said before, we all live in a bubble, right? And we, even though we may read and educate ourselves in college or life or experience and the people we surround ourselves, we live in this bubble. And my bubble was all about the military. That was my main bubble. And when you're in the military, you train for your mission, which is, my mission was to go to combat, accomplish a mission, come back with all my fingers and toes and all of my men, right? And but before you deploy, there's certain things that you have to do. You have to make sure that you have a will, a power of attorney for your family, that all your things are in order, your life insurance, your vaccinations, your physical. And then there's things that have to happen. You have to make sure that you're properly trained, so you go through pre-deployment training. And then um there's informal things that happens. You have to make sure that everything's home, everything is good, right? Your kids, your kids are good, your family's good, the home is good, house is good, car is good. That all of that is also taken care of, right? When you deploy, you want to deploy.
Pre-combat housekeeping almost.
Yeah, you got the honeydew list, what I call it, right? All that has to be taken care of, because you leave, and although they may tell you that you're going to be gone for 3 or 4 or 6 months or a year, once you take that oath and you deploy, your time is indefinite. You don't know when you're coming back or how you're coming back. So you can't have in your mind that you're gonna deploy and that you're gonna get injured, right? You deploy, and I think in my mind there's two things. You come back in two colors, white or black. White is you come back, just as you deployed, safe and sound with all your 10 toes and 10 fingers. And black is you come back in a body bag. Never did I thought that I was gonna get injured in combat and sustained a major change in my life, like an amputation or having spinal cord injury or traumatic brain injury or a burn or being blind. There's that possibility, but you can't dwell on that. You can't focus on that. When you deploy, you have to really be focused on the mission at hand, right? And especially as a leader, you got to deploy with those two things: taking care of my guys, making sure they're prepared to deploy and to accomplish the mission. And that's what we're there for.
So when you were injured and you woke up, how did they tell you, and what was your initial thought, or what went through your head?
I knew that I was injured by a blast, by a mortar round. I did not know the extent of my injury. So initially at the injury, I was knocked unconscious, and there was a period that I felt that I was fighting for my life. You know, seconds later, or throughout the time that from the rooftop through the helicopter ride and all the way until I got back to the States. You're unconscious. Immediately you're they're giving you something for pain. But I felt like I was fighting for my life, fighting to get back up, to wake up, to go back to where I was before. And so when you're unconscious, you hear these things around you, right? Maybe it's a sedation went down, or you're in a coma, induced coma, or something, but you're unconscious, right? And I suffered a traumatic brain injury. And so all these things that you hear, you're not seeing, and you're making a picture in your brain. It's like you're in a dream. And it wasn't until I was back in Walter Reed and at Bethesda Naval Medical Center that I was starting to hear familiar voices. It was voices of my family, of my wife and my uncle and my cousin. And I felt like I still couldn't talk. And then there was one day that they must have lowered the sedation down, my pain meds. And my wife, I heard Evelyn, who was my wife at the time, come and tell me, um, I'm here in Bethesda Naval Medical Center. I'm about to go into surgery, and I lost my right eye, and they're about to pull out a fragment out of my left eye. Oh, and by the way, you lost two of your guys with their motor round, Justin Dries and Ralph Porras. And I guess my blood pressure and my heart rate went up, and immediately they sedated me again, and I went into operation. So that's how I. Now that's not how I was told that I was blind. You know, after a couple of days, I would, I had come to, and I was talking with my wife, and I was trying to fill all the gaps that I could. And I'd asked her, "Hey, when are they going to take the dressing off my eyes?" I could not bring my hands to my face. I did not know that there was no dressing on my eyes, and she didn't want to tell me. And I think she already knew that I was gonna be blind. And then they brought a doctor in, and a doctor came and flashed. He said, "Open your eyes," and he flashed. He had a flashlight in my eye, and he told me to look up, down, left, and right. And he told me, "Hey, I'm sorry, do you see anything?" And I said, "No, I don't see anything." And I thought that I still had dressing on my eyes. And he told me, "Hey, you lost your eyesight." And that was kind of like a shocker. I was like, "You have no clue what you're talking about." And I'm like, "Get out of my room, get out of here." And that was like the head of ophthalmology.
Mm.
I was the chief of ophthalmology that I was talking to. And I told my wife, "Hey, get me another doctor, because this guy doesn't know what he's talking about." Right. And so like a week later, another doctor came in from Walter Reed. They flashed, put a flashlight on my eye, told me to look up, down, left, right. If I had seen something, I said no. And he told me, "Yeah, you're going to be blind for the rest of your life. Your optic nerve is severed, and your retina is completely cut off and damaged." And I remember I just sat there in silence. And my wife had made arrangements to take me to John Hopkins, the best doctor there. And we managed to get a pass to drive out of the hospital. I was still hooked up to an IV and everything, and they wheeled me in a wheelchair. and they took me to John Hopkins, and we went to this doctor, and guess what he did? He put a flashlight on my eye, told me to look up, down, left, right. I'm like, man, this is like deja vu. And he just told me the same thing. He said, hey, you guys are a beautiful young couple, and you're going to survive this, and you'll be fine, but you're going to be blind for the rest of your life. There's nothing we could do. And Evelyn had done a ton of research in the library, and she had all these thoughts about stem cell and things they were doing in China and all around the world. But I remember leaving that guy's office, that doctor's office, and in the hallway, she just completely broke down, and we just hugged, and the world came to a stop for a long time in that hallway. And
how'd you come to terms with that initially?
Well, having my wife cry in my arms as I stood there in the hallway, I want to go back. As broke as I was, I want to go back and kick his ass. But just because he made my wife cry, because he couldn't there was no other way to give you that information, but just like that. But
So
I think there was a lot of days that I just sat in my bed trying to wrap my head around this. And then slowly phantom vision came in, where your mind is playing tricks on you. You think you're actually seeing something or someone, and you're not. And that was pretty hard.
So, Ivan, and once again, our audience and George, you already know this, but I had an extraordinary opportunity to really step into Ivan's life on several occasions, and thank you, Ivan, for letting me do that, because it inspired and taught me so much about life itself, as well as living a life blind. But your wife, that you were married to at the time, Evelyn, was obviously by your side, but eventually, over time, the two of you separated and got divorced, and you made this such a profound statement that yet you openly talked about it, and I think the way you said it was, I was no longer the man I once was. I need to find a companion who will love me for the man I've become. Is that the way? I think that's the way you said that too. It was such a profound statement. But that was one of the real tragedies of your injury, correct?
Yeah, I'm still the same man I was before. That A-type personality, go-getter, driven. But my partner, my wife, knew me sighted, and she knew me as being in the military. And when losing my sight was something that she probably had not signed up for or wasn't ready for, I think that it was a lot on her. We had a great time together when we were married, and she took an amazing care of me. I'm super grateful for her, to her and her mom, right? I think you met her mom too, right, Eva?
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Yeah, I still call her every day, call her mommy, and so she was like my mom. But yeah, it didn't work out, and so yeah, I'm no longer the man. September 2nd, 2006, changed me as a person. It changed a lot in me, the way I am and the way I think now, and we all change. George, who's been blind for years, every year that goes by, it's an experience, a lesson learned, and you have as well, Keith. We all do. Yeah. So we all
Yes.
change. Okay, we all change in different ways, right?
Right, good, bad, and ugly, and everything in between.
Yeah,
Sure, of course.
absolutely. We age, something that you talk about, right?
Yeah, we're all aging. So I want to open this conversation up with George. I do want to just have you point out for us, and I want to make a point at the audience that Ivan is an extreme. He's the poster child for a type A personality. So while Ivan became blind and there was a tragedy and his life went sideways, he then became No different than who Ivan was. Very goal driven, and you took on some incredible physical and mental feats that you probably would have done anyways as a sighted person, but the opportunity opened up to you as a blind person. Just rattle off some of the things that you've done over the years, and we'll get into a deeper conversation. But I want the audience to hear from your lips and your mouth some of the things that you're proud to say that you were able to accomplish in your lifetime.
I started off by running marathons, 10 milers in marathons, and one marathon led to another. And right now I'm about, I don't know, 60 or 70 marathons since I've been blinded. Ultra marathons, 50 milers, cycle across America, cycle across Europe, climb Kilimanjaro. I did a pilgrimage across Spain, El Camino de Santiago, ran with the bulls, skied to the South Pole with Prince Harry, and a number of other injured service members of the UK, US, and Australia and Canada. Ran across the Sahara Desert, wrote a book.
Yeah, wrote a
Fighting
book, an
Blind.
amazing book,
Yeah.
Fighting Blind, an amazing book. Everybody, we'll have a link on how you can get this book, Fighting
Sure.
Blind.
Fathered
Why? Why?
two kids, my two youngest, after being blinded. And not no more. I took care of that issue. And then one of my biggest and toughest things that I did with my dear friend Darlene was hike the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada. The Invictus Games, right? The Warrior Games. I competed in cycling, the national championships. Was able to stand up on a podium. Took third place nationally.
So the question is why? Why do you do all this? What have you gotten out of this?
In my life in the military, I joined the military when our motto was "Be all you could be," and so I've always wanted to strive for more. I never settled. So when I was in the Army, if I was in a unit and there was a unit that did a different mission and it was a very selective unit to get into, I wanted to do that. If there was a school or a course that was extremely hard and you had to endure pain and it was tough mentally and physically, I wanted to do that, right? So I was always putting myself to the test in the military, right? And the same thing I did when, after being blinded, I couldn't deploy. I couldn't go to military schools. I couldn't train as I did before. I couldn't jump out of planes. I couldn't fast rope, off out of a helicopter and do those kind of things. Couldn't be on a range and enter a building or a room and shoot with guys right next to us, And so I needed that excitement, that adrenaline. It's like I needed something to fuel me. I needed something, when we came with the title of the book, Fighting Blind, and that title, I wanted to call the book Simple Man, off of the title of the song Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. I love that song. And my co-writer, Jim DeFelice, said, Ivan, you're not a simple man. And then I said something to him that, for me, and I believe this, that when you wake up in the morning, if you hit snooze on, and this was told to me by my good friend Darlene, if you hit snooze on the alarm clock, you already failed, because the day before you already set the alarm to wake up at a certain time, and so if you hit snooze, you're already starting to fail. So you're breaking your promise, right? And so every day is a fight to get out of bed, put my feet on the ground, and no matter what comes my way, I'm gonna do the best I can and succeed and be driven and have a goal. And doing these adventures and these challenges and all of these things that I just mentioned was knowing that when I woke up, I had to get up and train. I had to be prepared because I that A-type personality that I am, I want to succeed. I want to, I want to make sure that I accomplish my goal. And now, Keith, I have to back it up a little bit. I mentioned a lot of things that I did, right? All these things: cycle, running, triathlons, hiking, skiing. I want to make sure that you know that none of these things, none of them was done all by myself. This took a team of people, dedicated, committed, passionate, that took time out of their lives and their schedules to come and train with me and ensure that we were both ready and prepared. And there were a lot of people that trained and then handed me off. Darlene did that many times. She trained me up and then she handed me off to someone else to go out and do the events.
Do you feel that, you used the word promise, but you just said, you're saying something really important that's now that you, not only did you make a promise to yourself and a commitment, and this is the simple act of just getting up in the morning with getting to your schedule that you've planned, or in your case, these extraordinary events that you were part of. Not only did you make a promise to yourself, but when you're working with other individuals, they're relying on you to follow through with the promise you're making to the overall mission. And so you almost have a double responsibility, not only yourself, but to them. That had to be really hard on you.
To them, yeah. But it's the same thing that happened my whole life in the military. When you're in the military, you have a promise. I mean, when you deploy in the military, you're going to a place where everybody wants to kill you and the people around you. And one of the things that you're trained to is when you're in a combat fight and you're shooting at the enemy and you're engaged with the enemy, and the guy right next to you gets hit, you can't stop from shooting, right? You got to keep on in the fight because you got to eliminate the threat, right? And then you take care of the wounded. But also, when you're in a special forces team, a ranger unit, and any other unit in the army, if you see someone that's in need of help, you have to jump in there and save their lives, right? And that may be putting even yourself at risk or danger, right? I hate the word hero and warrior, and I never consider myself a hero or a warrior. When I think of warrior, I always go back to that movie, The 13th Warrior, right? With Antonio Banderas, right? When I think of warrior, I think about Conan the Barbarian, right? I think about like ripping, the enemy's head off and drinking blood out of their skull, right? Um, and when I think of a hero is someone that really puts their life in danger to save someone else, and sometimes that happens without even thinking. And I've been around some amazing warriors and heroes, and I always say that they were like giants, right? And I walked in their shadows. I was very fortunate. I was very fortunate to serve with some amazing men who I still call my friends today.
That you lost.
And some I lost, some I still have with me. Some are sick and ill. But I'm blessed. I'm blessed and I'm grateful. And going back to all these things that I've done after being blinded, uh, I'm grateful. I'm blessed that I have great friends and great teammates and who decided to take on these events with me, and it was a blast. I sit back now and I think about all these things that I've done in my life, sighted and blind, and man, I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
I have a question for you and George, and I'll just let you guys jump in on this. What irritates? I mean, there's probably a variety of things, but as both non-sighted individuals navigating through our world, and George, you've been doing this a long time, and Ivan's you've been doing this a long time too. What are some of the things that really do irritate you in relation to dealing with society and being somebody blind that people in the audience can understand and learn from? That maybe they won't remake those similar mistakes. But what kind of things bug you guys?
George.
Uh, Being discounted just because someone looks at you and sees that you're blind and then assumes that because of that fact you can't do X, Y, or Z. I can give you a good example of that. You know, take someone to a seminar. I had many employees. I took some of my employees to a seminar to learn how to make Corian countertops. And we get there, and the guy who's teaching the seminar for Corian, he turns to one of my employees and says, "Why did you bring this blind guy with you?" And my employee looked right straight at him and he goes, "I didn't bring him. He brought me. I worked for him." And the guy was just he couldn't believe that the blind guy was the guy that that was in charge of the operation, was running the operation. And he he by the end of the seminar he backed off a little bit on his holier than thou point of view, and realized that I was a skilled and talented person, and but that those kinds of things are what really irritate me. When you walk into a restaurant and you sit down and the waitress comes over, or waiter comes over and says, "What does he want?" Now I just want to reach up and say, "I really want to slap you." That's what I.
Ivan?
It's the same exact thing. The same exact thing that George experienced. I was waiting to see his answer, but it was the same exact thing. It's when I go somewhere and I want to do something, and immediately they say no. And I asked them why, and they say blind. And I said, what does that have to do with it? I mean, I, you'd be surprised at what I've done or what I can do. Give me the opportunity. Some of it, I think, is because it's just because they're not aware of what we can do, or they just haven't been around blind, people who are blind. And it goes with everything. It's like the same thing. I'll go up to a counter with someone, and hey, Castro checking in, and they immediately start talking to the person right next to me and say, I can speak for myself. I
Yeah.
can hear you. I can hear you. Or they start yelling, and it's just so it's really educating those folks, right? And a lot of folks, they won't let you do things because, oh, it's a liability. Oh, I can't let you. But it's the most simple thing. It's the most simple thing they won't let you do because you're blind, or they're just not informed. They're not knowledgeable. They're not wanting to. It's so easy to say no. It's so easy to say no. And there's so many other things that I've wanted to do, and people have not. I've, I've had to sneak around and pretend that I'm not blind, in order to get to do something. Then they find out and they're like in shock.
Do you ever look at somebody and say, "Listen, have you ever ran with the bulls?" And they go, "No," and you say, "Okay, let's go with this thing. Let's get going here." How old are you now, Ivan?
I'm 58.
So, all right, you're 58. I'm going to be 66. George is 71, going to be 72. I think that's correct. How do you, as a guy, just as a person aging, I know how disciplined you've been in the past because I've been fortunate to spend time with you traveling on the road, and in PT to Ivan is 5:30 up in the morning. And if you're going to travel with me and you're going to film with me, you're going to be in the gym with me at 5:30 in the morning. That's just the way it goes. And then you either try to keep up or you don't keep up, and then you're a wimp the rest of the day. The point is, at your age now, do you still have that maintaining level of discipline? And how do you maintain that level of discipline? And why is it important for somebody who's aging?
Yeah, I still get up every morning in PT, and if I can, I do something in the evening. I try to get two first, right? Not always I get a second one in a day, so it's very important to wake up early and get that done before texts, emails, calls, all the other distractions. So that's important to get up in the morning.
PT is
A
personal
good fr-
training.
a good friend of mine said, personal training, PT, may not be the most important thing in your day, but doing PT every day is the most important thing in your life. Right?
Wow, that's great. And
That was told
define
by
PT for everybody. What is a normal PT for Ivan?
physical fitness, just training. Whether it's cardio, running, cycling, rowing, elliptical, whatever it is, movement. Right? It's resistance training. It could be yoga, whatever. But really moving your body, it's important, right? And pushing yourself. And so now, not sure if you know that I'm living now in Orlando, sunny Orlando, Florida, which is nice and warm here today. I think we're getting up to 85 degrees today. Not sure how cool it is in Michigan, but it's nice. And I love it. I get to go out and work out in the sun and feel that, get that vitamin D in that sun. But I still love to row and on a stationary bike, a white bike, a Wahoo bike, or cycle, and the elliptical, the treadmill. I am not as strong, fast as I was before. Uh, you know, I can't remember that time we were at the gym and we threw 225 on the bench and we benched it, right? That
You
no
benched it.
longer.
I did not bench it.
Okay.
I spotted you. I did not bench it.
Yeah. So, you know, yeah, it's about aging, right? And so being in the military, cold, wet, running, no matter what the season is or the environment is, training out there, no matter what's happening, whether it's snowing, raining, cold, has really taken a toll on my body. All the parachute jumps, sliding down a rope, um, running with a pack on your back. It takes a lot on your lower back, on your limbs. And so I have, a hip replacement, a knee replacement, my lower back, you know, and still to this day, 2006 was my injury. I am still undergoing surgeries and fragments are still being pulled out of my body or comes out, of in an operation or something, one thing or another. So still to this day, I'm undergoing repairs and trying to put my body together from the blast.
How do you
And
maintain? I mean, you too, George. But how do you maintain? Because both of you have such an amazing, positive attitude, and how do you maintain that attitude? Is this just something that's part of your makeup, or do you work at it? And why is it important?
I guess I look at it as I don't think I have a choice. You either maintain that attitude or you get pushed into a corner, and I just refuse to be pushed into a corner. I think I still can make contributions to the world to this very day, and I continually, strive towards that. It's like I said, it's either, you're either on board or you're sinking. I mean, you're either swimming or sinking, so, and I prefer to swim. So
yeah,
Ivan, you were talking about strength and different things. When I was redoing my roof, came to the conclusion that putting 4x8 sheets of plywood from the ground up a ladder and up onto a roof, 20 feet off the ground. The first one wasn't too bad. But after about five of them, I decided this is a young man's sport. This is not a 70-year-old guy. He shouldn't be out here putting, 4
yeah,
inches of plywood up a ladder onto a roof. I did a
yeah.
bit
I'm impressed.
abandon.
Yeah,
I abandoned doing it by myself and recruited a helper to help make that happen.
yeah. I could tell that I talk with different athletes of different ages, and it's hard to swallow that pill. It's hard to swallow that pill. My good friend is about to run a 50 miler, and I'm and every morning she goes out and she goes for her run, and I'm like, man, I can't do that no more. And she and I kindly ask her, hey, how was your run, and what was your time, and it's hard to hear that because I want to do that, and my daughter is now running cross country, and I want to run with my daughter. Want to run with my son, and I could go for a walk around the lake, and I hear these people running fast, and I say, wow, that's a 7-minute mile. Hey, that's a 6-minute mile, and I'm like, man, I can't do that. I wonder how they view me, how am I looked at now? If they only knew that I once upon a time I could do that, right? You're viewed differently when you're blind, right? You're viewed as someone who's disabled. And I hate that word as disabled. I say I have a limitation. I have another ability, you know. So and it's really I come to realize, man, I'm getting older. I refuse, right? I don't know if you ever read the book Outlived by Peter Taylor. Have you heard this book?
I've
I have
heard of
not
it. I
read
have
that
not
book.
read it.
Oh, great book, man. You have to read the book. Peter Attea, Outlive. And there's another one called Spring Chicken, and it's about that. It's about aging, right? And but how to stay young, how to maintain a certain level of fitness in your when you're a centenarian, right? But going back to doing physical exercise every day, uh, it's my therapy. I enjoy it. I love it. People, man, I love it. I love it when I work out and I'm drenched in sweat and I'm pushing weights, or I'm pushing my heart rate, and I see 150, 160. Let me see if I could bring it up to 170, and I'm pushing my heart. Let's see how much I could keep this. And so um I believe um every day you have to punish your body in order to keep your mind disciplined. I believe that every day you have to do something hard. Take yourself out of your comfort zone in order to stay strong, you know? And if you stay in a comfort zone and everything is, oh no, that's too hard. I'm not going to try that. Oh no, I'm not going to. I did that before. I don't need to prove myself no more. I don't need to push myself. You get weak, right?
And what you're saying is even more important as an aging person. You have to work so much harder, at least I do, so much harder than I used to work out now just to try to maintain what I have now. Before I was in a growth mode. Now I'm just trying to maintain it. So you really have to work out hard. So what you're saying is actually, God, it's even more important for the aging person.
It is. And it's the whole thing, right? It's not only the working out, but it's how you eat, how you sleep, your mind and your body, right? And just until recently, after being injured, I didn't seek mental health. My mental health was working out and punishing myself doing an event or training. And man, I was neglecting my brain so much. And I see a psychologist every week, because your mind is the most important thing in your body. I mean, when you think about, the things why people die is because of mental health, your heart, diabetes, or cancer, right? Those are the four major things. And so you have to take care of your mind. Your mind drives your body. And so if you don't take care of your mind, we take care of our hearts, we take care of our muscle, we take care of our bellies, right? What we eat, we have to take care of our mind. And so I'm not ashamed to say, yeah, I see a psychologist every week, and it's
As
someone that I could talk to, and he's my doctor.
George
He's
is,
not my friend.
I'm sorry, excuse me to interrupt you. George is wrestling with now at his age. He's wrestling with slowly losing his hearing, and Ivan, how important you probably we take our sight for granted for sure. We also take our hearing for granted. How important has your hearing been since you've become blind over the years? How intensified has that sense become to becoming your navigational beacon in a lot of ways through the world? Does that make any sense?
Sure, it's how we see. I mean, it's how we know what's going on around us. It's very important, and that's why I avoid and I hate places that are extremely loud. I just avoid them.
Because you
You
can't
know,
sift through the information?
I can't. And it's like right now when I walk into in a place, I'm hearing I'm hearing everything, and I'm not hearing anything.
It's like
So
trying to drive. It's like trying to drive down the highway in a snowstorm at 70 miles an hour when you walk into a place where there's a lot of noise. The the challenge becomes really, and the survival becomes really important. When you start wanting to cross intersections and you're trying to figure out if the cars are moving up Doppler or down Doppler, and somebody drives up in the intersection with a great big dump truck or something and drowns out every other single
yeah.
sound that's around you, it becomes difficult then.
How do you
So that here,
I
how
live
do
in
you
the
both
city now,
navigate through
right?
that?
Yeah. I live in the city now, and thank God I live where there's cobblestones on my streets and there's stop signs, and they're just, a one lane street, and so I could hear that. But sometimes there's construction, there's a pressure washer, there's a truck, there's a Tesla that is coming, 50 miles an hour, and you don't hear it now. I'm like, God bless Tesla, right? And so, yeah, there's so many factors that are out there.
I don't know if we need to bless Tesla, but I get it.
Yeah. Oh,
Just saying.
yeah.
So, where do you see yourself 20 years from now, Ivan? Where do you want to see yourself from 20 years? Where does Ivan see himself 20 years from now?
I still want to be healthy, happy, and whole. I want to be able to do the same things that I'm doing now, maybe even more. I want to turn back the hands of time. The three things that are very important to me. And I want to remind you some of the other three things that were important to me when we first met. But now, health, peace, and love are very important to me. And when we met in the past, I told you they were my F's, right? Faith, family, friends, finance, fitness. Remember those? My
Yes.
pillars. Remember
Yes.
positive attitude, surrounding myself with positive people, gratitude. Those are still my pillars. But 20 years from now, I want to be healthy, happy, whole. I want to be, I want to have peace in my life and around me, and just love what I'm doing, and love the people that I'm with, and
What
people that love me.
what makes Ivan sad?
First, most importantly is my family and my friends. When things are not going the way they should, right? Conflict makes me sad. Division makes me sad. You know, Seeing what's going on right now in the world, all around the world, and here in the U.S. makes me sad because I served 28 years. My son served. Um, my brother served. My uncles and cousins served. You know, my ex-spouse served. So we served our nation. Um, we took an oath. We volunteered to serve, whether it was to serve and protect or whether it's to serve and defend, right? And so we want our leaders, or all leaders, religious, political, teachers. We want them all to behave a certain way and have morals, ethics, and values. And
And
so
that frustrates you now.
that frustrates me. Because I gave my eyes for that, you know, and I served. I was willing to give my life. I wish I could go back, you know, uh, probably 30 years
I
back.
wish you were running the
Yeah,
Pentagon.
I wish I could go back 50 years ago, I wish I could go back, 40 years ago in time. We were a different nation. We've had a lot of great things, happen, technology, and thank God for Apple and technology and other things, right? But um, a lot of things have fallen. Um,
As a father with young kids, how old are your kids? Your two youngest?
7, 14, and 32.
7,
I got them spread
14.
out.
Yeah. Your 7 and
Mhm.
your 14-year-old, you never saw their face, have you?
Never, but they're awesome. They're beautiful. They're gorgeous. Thank God they don't look like me. They look like their moms.
Did they
Uh,
have you come to terms and they've come to terms with dad and just how you relate to them, not ever having the chance to see their faces? It's
I'm
the only
really
thing they know.
close. Yeah, I'm really close with my 14-year-old, my daughter. We're really tight. We just came back from a 30-day trip in Europe, and we did 7 countries, and we had a blast. And we're about to go to Australia and New Zealand together.
Nice.
And
So the question that you just asked Ivan as it relates to, seeing his children or whatever. Now, if you're asking blind people things that people ask them that they find offensive, that would be one of them in my book, because I don't necessarily think the visual referencing of person, to me anyway, it is gone beyond that. That isn't really a concern anymore. I want to know what's under the skin. I don't. I really don't. The visual reference to it, and people asking me about the not seeing a person or not knowing what a person looks like or something, that it doesn't really have a lot of relevance. I mean, even if for you as a person who sees other people, it is a method for you to recognize them. We live in a world that has taken some time, drawn some lines to say what is pretty and what isn't pretty. Okay,
mhm.
but those are all based on judgments. Okay, and I actually feel somewhat liberated from the fact that I do not judge a person by what they look like.
Yeah,
Very good point, George, and I
it's no,
apologize.
and let me tell you, it is the truth. Now, my kids, I have put my hands on their faces and their bodies from head to toe, and I, ask, you know, I don't even know the color of my skin, right? And they told me that my kids are light, their skin is lighter than mine, and what color their eyes and everything. But it's true. When I meet someone, let me tell you, I had sight for 39 years, and I'm not afraid to say this. I might have judged a little bit with my eyes, and that doesn't happen at this time, right? Um, so when it comes to my kids, I put my hands on their face and their hair and everything, and I've asked what they look like. But when it comes to interaction with my daily interaction with people, man, it's the way I'm spoken to, the way I'm treated, the way that person, I could relate to them, or how they treat me, they're kind or not. And it's funny because we are sexual creatures, when you have eyes and you see someone from the opposite sex, that catches your attention. It may be something that caught your attention, their hair, their body, their eyes, their smile, right? It's that sexual appetite that catches your attention when you have eyes. And I could say this because I had eyes for 39 years. But then I think when you have eyes, you come to meet them and you come to realize whether this person is compatible with you or not. That doesn't happen with us. We don't go around feeling everybody up and seeing, hey, are you tall, short, thin? You know, how's your hair? We don't go around touching people and seeing that. And so, for us, I think, at least for me being blind, it's that first interaction. Did they say hello? Did they, you know, treated you like someone disabled? Did they take the time to talk to you, to greet you? Man, let me tell you, you know how many times people will just ignore me, or I'll come to an intersection or something, or I'm struggling when I'm walking by myself, and I know because other people have told me that they just stop and stare at me and look at me and see me struggle, or and they won't even ask to offer for help. It's just like I'm like I got leprosy or something.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really poignant thought about seeing and not seeing, and how we communicate as human beings. And can you imagine if everybody was blind? If everybody was blind, and we lived in a non-sighted world, but we still interacted with the world, how we treat people differently? Just how different the world would be. That's such a strong observation on both your parts.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting ready to wrap up here. George,
I
the
did.
whole
I have a couple quick little things about Ivan. When you went to the South Pole, did you guys ski in and ski out, or did you ski in and get a ride back out? How far did you ski?
We skied, I think it was I want to say about a little over 200 miles. I think it was like about 200 miles, or a little bit over 200 miles. We had really bad weather. We had a lot of sastrugi, which sastrugi is when heavy winds hit the surface of the ice. It creates these ripples, like you see for miles and miles, these waves, and they were up to 3 to 5 feet high. These sastrugi. So we were pulling sleds. So we cross country skied down to the South Pole, and we were flown out. Yeah, we were flown out.
On my little ski trip was a little over 500 miles. I skied on the opposite end of the world from you. I was up right by the Arctic Circle. We started on the Kola Peninsula and skied all the way across Norway, Finland, and Sweden. So we were supplied at three different points along the way, resupplied by people, because 500 miles is a lot of. It couldn't pull that much gear. Probably could have, but did chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
But we only skied one way. We didn't.
Yeah, we were unsupported as well. We did have a safety net behind us. There were vehicles
Yeah, we were with Prince Harry.
nearby. Yeah, we
Can't
were
forget to
Prince
mention that.
Harry, Dominique West, Alexander Skarsgård, and we were a whole, everybody, all the vets. There were 12 of us, and everybody had a significant injury. There were one vet that was a double amputee. There were several that was single-legged below the knee amputee. One was missing the arm. A lot of traumatic brain injury, burns, a lot of amputation. I was the only blind one there, but it was what an experience. It was a great experience. It was, if I have to say, when you do something for a long period of time, like ski to the South Pole, or run across the Sahara Desert, or cycle across America, or hike the Pacific Crest Trail, which was 2,653 miles, it has an impact on your life, and you'll remember that forever, and I hope I do. And by far, the toughest one was the Pacific Crest Trail. Yeah, there was by far the toughest challenge was the Pacific Crest Trail. That was hard. That took over 6 months.
Yeah, people don't realize how
And
complicated it is to walk when you're blind in an environment that where the terrain changes dramatically all the time.
yeah, I mean, the terrain was only 1 foot wide, certain death, sometimes on one side, certain death on the other, or a cliff on one side, and certain death in a cliff. You know, you took one step, you weren't going to be found. And then to the point when you walk, you're at the trailhead, they got signs warning you're about to enter the wilderness. There's danger. This is dangerous. There's lions, bears, snakes. And so you encounter lion, bear, snakes, bees, earthquakes, fallen trees, um, torrential rain, river crossings, and heat, no water. Uh, I mean, and there's signs with pictures. Hey, we're looking for this hiker. He's been missing. And that doesn't make the national news. And
Right.
so a lot of those trainers, a lot of hikers that die on that trail every year. But what I've experienced, anytime I'm outside and I feel sun or I smell grass or the wind, or I could feel rain, it brings me back to the Pacific Crest Trail.
I'm going to share a really quick story of one of my traveling opportunities with Ivan. We were filming in Dallas for the film Enlisted, and Ivan was at that stage of his life was going to see other service members who were severely hurt and injured, and kind of as an attitude, kind of try to help them get back into a space where they could rehabilitate themselves. And we're traveling, and we're staying at this airport or at this hotel. We're walking across the lobby of the hotel, and Ivan was holding my arm, but I folded my right arm up so my arm is on my stomach, and Ivan's holding my arm, and he says, "Is your arm folded up?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Jesus Christ, drop it. They're going to think we're a couple." Not that it would have mattered. Not that it would matter, but Ivan says, "Put your arm down, for crying out loud." The other funny thing, we get into an elevator, and Ivan's always wearing his sunglasses, of course, because Ivan, because of his one eye, is still. Maybe you'll take his glasses off and show us, but we're getting in an elevator. He's got these dark sunglasses on. He immediately starts talking to everybody in the elevator. "Oh, you look great today. Boy, it's going to be a nice day out there. Isn't it pretty out there?" And people are having this whole discussion with it, and I'm looking at him thinking, dude, you're just screwing with these people. But that's Ivan's funny, humorous personality that really comes through, and you're such a joy to be around, dude. Such a joy. You're so inspirational to us.
I'm blessed,
so many
man.
stories I can share.
I'm blessed and I'm grateful, and we all are blessed, regardless of what we're going through, and we should be grateful. And it could always be worse. It could always be worse.
Yeah, George, you have
And
any closing?
let me tell you, I have to remind myself that every day. I'm not. I want to let you know I'm not always, the strong guy you see every day. I don't typically say that. I don't typically show it, right? Because a lot of people come to look for inspiration and motivation and to me, and so you have to have this strong, you're not going to be defeated. Nothing can take you down, and always happy, because people are looking for inspiration, motivation in you, right? So, but yeah, I'm human, right? Like everyone else, I put my pants one leg at a time.
I don't
Unless you're
believe that.
sitting on bed, right?
I believe you just jump right into those things.
Yeah, but yeah, I bleed, believe it or not.
I have my pissed off at the world days, and sometimes you just get out the sawzall and just cut your roof out on those days.
Yeah, sure.
Ivan, George and I we deeply appreciate you spending this time with us. I mean, I hold you as a very close, dear friend, but more importantly, even from the day I met you, back in Colorado at at that blind athletic convention or symposium we were at that I was filming at. I just was so drawn to your personality and your ability to kind of, shake somebody by the ears and say, listen, you think you got it rough. There's a lot of people out there a lot more difficult than what you're dealing with, and let's move forward. And so your attitude has been so, addicting to a lot of us, me in general. So thank you for being the guy you are and the leader you are. I mean, you're not in the military anymore, but you still lead people and you still teach people daily, and it's inspiring. So thank you for spending this time with George and I.
Likewise, thank you, George. Pleasure. Great to chat with you again. I'm certain that hopefully we'll get together another time. And Keith, absolutely, I had a great time doing all of your productions. Enlisted, Can You See How I See? And the mental health one, right? Which one was?
Death is not the answer.
Death is not the answer.
Yeah, you
Death
met with
is
some
not
high
the
school
answer.
students. It was a powerful scene with you meeting with high school students, runners, and who are very athletic, who had a chance to sit with and talk with you. They still talk about to this day.
Yeah, and let's do something in the future again. Let's
Absolutely.
put something on the calendar. Let's do something physical.
Yeah,
Let's
maybe
go out.
you
Let's go
and
out.
I.
And George, yeah.
Yeah, you and I and
Let's-
George. Absolutely. I love that
Let's
idea.
go out and do something tough, something strong, something that will take us out of our comfort zone, something that really sucks.
As long as I don't have to run with the bulls. As long as I don't have to run with the bulls.
Yeah, while we're doing it, we could laugh and say it could always be worse, and come back and remember that. It's a great time. But listen, I don't recall that you ever cooked. For me, I never remember having any of your food anytime. I think. Wait a minute. No, you did cook at my house.
I did cook at your house. You're right.
When we were
I did.
filming at my house, I think you made breakfast.
I did cook at your house, and you were pissed off at me because I had the pot on the stove with the handle sticking out, and I moved some stuff around on the counter, and you said to me, number one, nobody, if you're working when somebody's house is blind, you don't leave the handle sticking out so they can knock it off. Number two, stop moving my shit around the counter. I have things in a very specific spot for a reason, so stop moving my stuff around the counter. So yeah, I did cook for you.
Don't leave the cabinets open.
Don't leave the exactly. I got a real good hand slap a couple times from Ivan cooking at his house. But yes, I deserve you and George both deserve an incredibly cooked meal that I would be honored to do, and let's figure a way of making that happen.
Yes, sir.
All right, so guests, thank you again for joining George and I on Can You See How I See? There'll be some great stuff on our website about Ivan. So please drop into our website, and you'll see how you can get Ivan's book, Fighting Blind. And there'll be a variety of links up there, things that you can really explore Ivan's life, because it is truly is inspirational. Thank you again, Ivan, and thank you, George. Good seeing you, brother. I look forward to seeing you next week. We'll get another one of these going, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you. Never forget, how you live your life today will determine how you age tomorrow.